and welcome to 2022 Virtual Open Garden Tour. We're in Lorraine and David's beautiful garden on the Comox Peninsula. A lovely south-facing view of the water, and you probably get some mountain views too.
In the winter.
In the winter. It's just a gorgeous yard. And they've been here over 30 years, and this really is a work in progress, but it's been evolving over 30 years, and they've done some wonderful things with basically a clean palette, I suppose. Apart from the old trailer that you first lived in when you got here. But you know, I think we're going to show you some lovely transitions that you've made to the property, and they just really enhance it. And I think we'll get started. What we're looking at here is the orchard, and it was probably originally here. Seeing the old trees propped up with beechwood.
Well, actually, they're not that old.
Okay.
This has all been planted by us.
Okay.
By us.
Okay.
Yep. So we have apples and cherries and kiwi arbor and raspberries. That is an original, the great big crabapple tree.
Crabapple tree, which we're now calling a Ukrainian crabapple.
Yes, there are no Russian plants left in this garden.
No.
Only Ukrainian.
Okay. Yes. And the lovely berries and the lilacs, of course, which enhance everything. Wow. And the peach tree that even has 6 peaches on it.
Poor sad little thing. It suffered this winter. But hopefully it's still going.
Still coming. And the fig trees. I love that you can plant your fig trees and get them. We still have to take ours into the greenhouse every winter, but it's gorgeous here. So over here is your tomato tunnel, which I understand is a hit. Obviously, the tomatoes like it.
This is David's pride and joy. He loves tomatoes, and we have about 86 or 90 tomato plants. We will be gifting them to friends and family because we won't have room. We always say every year 20, that's about the right number, and somehow we end up with 60. We just can't help ourselves. There's so many interesting varieties of tomato, and of course we're trying 3 or 4 new types this year because we just can't help ourselves.
There's 10 species and there's 10 varieties.
And I'll just point out the asparagus that David has started from seed, from the asparagus they have elsewhere in their garden. So that's a good start as well. So things can be growing right from seeds. And, they've got the right weather for it. We get less frosts than most of us in the valley, I think, out here. So it really is maybe a zone 8 or 9 maybe. So this place used to be a swimming pool. You can see the deck that you'd enter with, and then it came out this way for 30 feet and above ground on this end and ground level that end. And it was much loved and enjoyed for many years until it ran its course and had to be taken out. And you left the deck, so you had a nice sitting area, but I love the way you've transitioned this. Put in a nice rock wall with the ivy looks great on there. And well, it's got vegetables in it, and vegetable in a flower garden. It's just my kind of garden.
It's now nice potatoes and garlic and kale and flowers and oregano. It's got a little bit of everything.
And it just loves it here. It gets enough light on the southern exposure, and you've got rhubarb all over the yard as well, which is great.
We love rhubarb, so any place we can squeeze it in. We're thinking we might move the rhubarb over here. We like the rhubarb so much and give it more space.
Oh, there we go. And what's peeking out under your eaves on that building there now?
We have some mason bee homes and climbing rose.
Climbing rose, yeah.
And Virginia creeper over the roof.
There we go. That's probably what's coming in under the roof.
Yes.
Yes. Virginia creeper's nice.
It's a nice fall color.
It is. So Lorraine, another thing that I noticed you've done with your property is you incorporated a lot of the old trees that were here. And whether some had to come out because they were in the way or risk of falling on the house, but you've tried to leave some stumps or even some of the bigger ones around the perimeter to kind of add to the personality of the property.
The trees when we first moved here were about 20, 30 feet tall, so they've grown significantly. We have cedar and fir and balsam fir and sequoia and redwood, and this flowering plum. The forsythia shrub was right here. Everything else has pretty much been added by us.
And the big sequoia in the back that you can see there.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, I love those sequoias. But,
I love them, but when in the winter with all the heat, there's a lot of needle die-off,
okay. Yeah.
and then it flies all over the yard. It gets stuck in the dog fur. It's hard to garden because it's very sharp. So
okay.
we love it, but we struggle with it at
Struggle
times.
with it. Okay. Well, and we can walk through this way, and I love how David pruned it up so it's just above head level.
Yes.
It's a nice thing to walk under, especially in the summer when you get a lot of that sun, those sunny days that we seem to be having these years. It's gorgeous.
And it's created this nice little, we call it the grotto right in here.
The grotto.
We have a bird bath made by a friend.
Yeah.
It's nestled in there, and the birds just love it. Got all this scented
And
geranium.
that's your forsythia that's arching over the
Yes.
top of it. Wow, that's gorgeous. And that looks pretty old, that forsythia.
That one is original. So
Original.
it's maybe 50 years
50
old.
years old. Wow, that's great. And it's still doing very well. It's,
Extremely well.
yeah.
Very
Wonderful.
healthy.
And the children's swing is still going strong. I think it'll be the great grandchildren that'll be enjoying it next, perhaps. But,
There used to be a full pine tree there, but all that's left now is the part that holds the swing.
so it's a great incorporation of old trees, and just incorporate them into your yards. The birds love them. You know, they can knock holes in them and nest in them. They can find bugs in them, so they're great for the birds and probably the bees and the hummingbirds and everything else. And it's
And lots of protection too.
lots of protection. Yes, absolutely. We're now coming to the back of the house. I guess I'm calling it the front of the house, but
We call it the front too.
the front. Okay, there it is.
We have two fronts.
Two fronts. There you go. Now, what I like particularly that you've done here, this used to be sloping all the way down when they built the house, but what they've done is they terraced it, and they put in some nice rock walls where you've got your gardens on the top and you've got some flat areas in between, and it just makes a nice view and functional, a very functional yard now that you've got rid of the slope.
It's a lot easier to take care of. Mowing grass on a slope was awful. The weeds were everywhere. So it's and it enabled us to create all of these beds with these flowing shapes.
Yes, which is nice. And you've got hidden ponds all over the place, which is great. The sound of the water is so relaxing and mesmerizing. It's just like, I can imagine in the summers, it's just nice to sit out here and relax with,
It is.
you know, the sound of that and the birds.
It attracts the birds,
And no deer because it's fenced. So
yes,
yes.
we spent so much money on plants over the years. We finally decided to just spend the money on fencing instead of plants.
Yeah, and that helped, I'm sure. But, yeah, and you've got some really nice pots on your deck there, which is full of vegetables and herbs.
Yes, we used to do annuals in the pots, and then we decided that we would just turn them into edible pots instead of floral pots, especially when COVID hit. Just seemed to make sense.
Your nice herb garden here against the house, and it's nice and close to the kitchen, so you can just nip out and get what you need.
Even in the winter, there are things out here that we can eat all year.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The oregano lasts most of the year. The sage and the thyme.
Excellent.
The lovage, of course, is just a summer crop.
We're growing lovage for the second time this year. We just love it.
It's been there for 20 years. It comes up all by itself.
It's nice that way, yeah. And it's a nice to use if you don't have celery on hand.
Yes.
And you don't want to go and buy it. So it's really a nice replacement for that in cooking. So
We lost most of our rosemary over the last few years with the cold winter, so I'm starting to treat rosemary as an annual.
Annual, yeah. You know, I see you've got one there that's survived.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the trouble I've had. So now this year I'm bringing it into the greenhouse every year. So put it in a pot, that'll be it. But I love rosemary as bushes. They look so nice. So,
Lots of chives and oregano, of course, the basics. And some fennel.
gorgeous tulips. Wow.
These were some of the tulips from the end of the year
Oh, the tulip sale. Yes.
So those ones in the pots in particular
Oh,
were
yes.
end of the year tulip ones, and it was getting late, and I just stuffed as many as I could into
Great.
pots.
Well, thanks to Home Depot for that.
Yes.
Look how beautiful they are. Wow.
I hope they do it again.
Yes. Well, they seem to every year, so we're certainly appreciative of that. So. And even Rosie likes the herb garden. So.
Leave those alliums alone.
Yeah. There you go. And the chicory and the lettuce and the
Cilantro,
borage, cilantro,
arugula.
arugula. Oh, it's all here at your fingertips. It's gorgeous. Radish.
On this side, underneath all of this geranium and columbine, is a wave of white iris, which will be out in a few weeks.
Well, it's nice that you've got transitioning flowers because it keeps the pollinators coming back, and I imagine you've got a number of hummingbirds in the area that
We have quite a few hummingbirds that we keep
That are here.
quite well fed, and we do like to have something that's. I've tried to follow the pollinator charts to have something every few weeks coming up that's going to be attractive to the bees are working in
So
there right now.
this really demonstrates, when you try to work to that kind of schedule for the blooming plants, it really does work, and it's beautiful. And one plant fades away, but another one's coming on. So the focus shifts, which is great.
And it's not that hard because a lot of these are volunteers.
Mhm.
We just let the columbine and the geranium and the Spanish bluebells and the
That's right.
Montana come up
Yeah.
wherever they want, and then when we're done with them, we just chop them off and they come back next year.
Next year, that's great. Yeah. And I love the repurposed fixtures you've got. Apparently, this is from Naden.
Yes.
Was it in a Esquimalt out
Yes.
of the
Out of the it was
naval yards?
yes, it was a laundry sink, so it's been repurposed as a strawberry tub.
And it's probably over 100 years old, apparently. So that's great. I love it. And strawberries love it there too. Keeps keeps Rosie out of them.
Keeps Rosie out, keeps the slugs out,
Yeah.
keeps them up high and dry.
No back pain when you pick them. So and your lovely woodland garden under your cedar tree here. This is gorgeous.
It's fairly new. It's an extension of a project that's been going on for the last 10 years, about two years for part of it. So
Nice.
it's coming along.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, it's plants we've acquired from friends' gardens,
That's the best way.
It is from
Yeah.
the garden sales. So and things we had in the yard that we just relocated because they were in too sunny of a spot.
Right,
So then
right.
we finally had a shady spot to put them.
Nice.
So it's
okay.
worked out really well.
Nice. Okay. So, yes, when you've got the space to be able to find a corner, that's
We've got our sunny spots, our dry spots, our wet spots.
yeah, it's nice. Everything along it. Yes, and there's even another 2 ponds in here, bubbling away. A nice place to sit in the summer.
It's a nice, cool, shady spot.
Oh,
We can
last
listen
year
to
with
the
the
water
heat bill, that
bubble.
must have been nice.
It was perfect. That's why these chairs are here.
Yeah.
I had to find a shady spot.
Oh, yes.
So everything happens eventually by experimentation.
Mhm. And the nice Asian features there with the bamboo. It's adds to the ambiance.
That bamboo clump hasn't spread in 20 years.
Wow.
So it's a black bamboo and
Oh, nice. Okay.
it's contained itself.
And it keeps you in garden states too.
The best kind.
Yes. Definitely.
This is a bit of a sunnier shade. It gets a little bit of morning sun and then it's shady for the rest of the afternoon. So we have a lot of hellebores and ferns and ligularia,
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
rhodos.
Your hellebores are still blooming too. That's nice.
I can't bear to cut them. I know
No.
that they're coming to the end,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I know they're so gorgeous, aren't they?
I'm actually very reluctant to cut anything in the garden. I very rarely make bouquets because I want them all out here.
And the whimsical goldfish too, just watching over it.
I'm really pleased with these too. This is a beautiful little leucogyne.
Oh yes.
This is the first summer they've come up.
So Lorraine and David, it's been wonderful to view your lovely property, and as David just said, it all begins here and it all ends here in the compost pile, and this is a wonderful compost pile. It's going to do its job, and I guess obviously you use it all.
We do.
All
It
year.
all gets repurposed.
Repurposed, yeah. Good, and 2 speedy bins there to add to it, so that's great that you're recycling and just adding it back into the garden. It's wonderful. And, thank you for showing us and allowing us to come in and share it with the membership. It's great, and you've done a wonderful job, and it's certainly a work in progress still, but it looks wonderful and homey and very relaxing. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.